Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show on D.A.M.O.N Looks. So, I have my really cool guest co-host with us, Justin Drummond. Say hello to everyone.
Hey guys, I'm like really sorry. We were just about setting up for this show, and I could not help but just I couldn't hold back any laughter by what we were just doing while we were on sound check.
So listen, then you know what? I'm going to give you the honors of introducing our incredible guest since you introduced him to me, and we did have some fun with him just a few seconds ago. So I'm going to give you the honors. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm not really that much of a sports fan. I haven't really heard about this guy through his entire career. I recently found him on the show Survivor, and I think he did pretty good. But other than that, he's also an actor. He's a huge, not anymore. He's a retired former NBA player, and he's also a big secretariat lover, for those of you who were wondering what we were talking about earlier. But without further ado, Scott Pollard. Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I live just a couple hours north of the Churchill Down. So racing is big here. I live in Indianapolis. I just live north of Indianapolis. In 49 other states, it's called Carmel, but this suburb is in Indiana, so it's called Carmel. So racing is big here. The race that just happened a couple weeks ago with the horses and the jockeys and the stuff, with the cheating and the steroids and stuff, apparently, the winner of the horse, he was doing steroids. What's going on? Then, in a month, right, at the end of this month, we got the real race with the humans and the race cars, and they go really fast and they turn left for a few hours. So yeah, that's where I am.
So wait, I need to say something. So we've communicated a few times because we actually tried to do this show last month and I had some technical difficulties, but you seemed so reserved to me and quiet and calm and all that until today.
Okay, Scott is not quiet. Okay, have you seen? I mean, he is so energetic.
So
when we're setting up, I'm mellow, but when you hit play, I'm a monkey. Just press play, and I start smacking the cymbals together, and telling jokes or whatever you need me to do.
Well, I was laughing at Justin's introduction because what do you think, Scott? He should have lied and said he followed your whole carear, right?
Yeah, well, he's not old enough to have followed my whole career.
all right.
I'm 23, Jerry.
I'm 97 years old. I played against Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh my gosh! Wait, did you really?
No.
Okay, because you just got me a little bit there. Okay. All right.
You got me too, because I because one of the biggest things that I cannot handle is sarcasm. I can't understand when someone is telling the truth or just making stuff up.
How do you deal with me, Justin?
I don't know. I mean, I deal with you 24/7.
So Scott, before Justin gets really serious with this interview, and he does a great job with his questions and all that, I want to say something to you. I read your bio and I thought it was really cool. And a couple things. I have a cousin, Stevie, in New York, okay, a story in New York, who I messaged him a while ago when Justin first gave me your name. He told me everything there was to know about you, your whole life story in NBA and this and that. Survivor. I was like, what? So my cousin completely followed you. So I want to say hello to you from my cousin Stevie, first of all. Second of all,
what's up, Stevie?
There you go. Awesome. Say it again.
What's up, Stevie?
So the other thing I want to say is I owned a beauty salon back in the day. It was called Jerry's Final Touch in the 80s and 90s. And when I read about your haircuts, your peculiar hairstyles, okay? You had a mohawk, a ponytail, and a bald head. I cracked up because other than a mohawk, I've had pretty much every hairstyle known to man. But when my grandson, who is now 20, was going into 4th grade. The day before I was babysitting him, and I said, come on, let's go surprise mommy with a haircut. And I brought him to my friend, and she gave him a mohawk. My daughter walked in the house and just laughed because she knows me, I'm crazy. Photos of him getting on the bus the first day, and all the kids on the bus were screaming and yelling, cool kid, cool kid. So my grandson's had every hairstyle too. I loved it. So that's my rant about you, Scott. I think you're really cool. And Justin is biting at the bits right now because he wants to take over, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we're definitely moving into the hairstyle a little bit later. Okay? We're gonna be mature now. Okay. All right. So usually I like to start off from the beginning. So you grew up in San Diego, and you were had a kind of a simple life. You were raised in a Christian family, which is something I loved. And so when did you actually start pursuing basketball? Like, did you have any family history, or was this something that you wanted to do on your own?
Wow, well, there's a lot. I mean, how many hours do you have? My dad is in the state of Utah Hall of Fame for basketball.
Oh.
He was in the inaugural class. It was him and the former owner of the Utah Jazz, Larry Miller, and the current GM of the Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge. So Larry Miller was inducted as a pro, even though he never played basketball on any level. Danny Ainge was inducted because of his time at BYU, and my father was inducted for his 2 back-to-back state championships at high school. So that I was born in just south of Salt Lake in a little town called Murray, and I was born into a basketball family. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. All 5 of my siblings were recruited and played Division I basketball, except for my sister, who got recruited to play volleyball and basketball, but had feet problems and decided that the surgeries required to continue playing were not worth it. So, yes, I've been playing basketball since I was a kid. I was born 2 feet tall, enough to get out of my mom. So when people nowadays say, hey, watch your head, I laugh. It's your normal size. I've been ducking my entire life, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to remind me. Thank you. But do you tell fat people, watch your weight? Hey, watch your waistline when you're going through that door. Don't hit your waist on the door. No, you don't. But you tell tall people to duck. Why? What's the difference? Anyway, yes, I was born in a basketball family. I was raised on basketball. I've been playing for my entire life until I retired from the NBA, that is. So about 33 years I played. I don't even run anymore. I don't play basketball anymore. I had a great love affair with it, and that love affair is over. But yeah, when I grew up in San Diego, I mean, we can continue. I can keep going. What's next, Justin? Just cut me off. It's fine.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, how tall are you?
I'm 6'11".
Wow.
And the reason why I say 6'11" is because I'm 6'10" and 3/4 barefoot, so when I'm wearing shoes, I'm over 7 feet tall. But I have 3 brothers that are taller than me. And so people are like, why don't you just round up to 7 feet? Do you know why I don't round up to 7 feet? And I will keep my language clean. But I will tell you that when I rounded up and said I was 7 feet tall, I had 3 brothers that used to beat the out of me and say, you're not 7 feet tall. So that's why I'm 6'11".
I'm 5'11", so I mean I'm almost 6 foot. So I mean I can always I can see myself in your shoes, but I always hated being tall because I mean whenever I go in my car and my head almost hits the roof of the car, I immediately say I wish I wasn't that tall.
Well,
it's great until you're on airplanes. That's really the biggest problem.
Well, I want to cut you off because I have to say something. So I'm going to tell you a cute little basketball story about me and my grandson, okay? Before I forget. So my grandson is 20, and he's tall. He's not really tall. He's average. But even when he was this short, small white boy, he was one of the best basketball players in his school. And he got to play on LeBron's court with LeBron's kids when LeBron was on a cruise. My daughter, he was only, I think, 10. And my daughter went to Florida and rented a car and knew where they lived and rang the doorbell of the gate. And the grandmother let them in. Is that crazy? And we have it on video.
Wow, that's great.
They're really cool. But
I played with LeBron one year. We went to the NBA Finals in 2007 together.
That's so cool. And I'm only 5'4", but I loved basketball and I was pretty good at it. And I ran, I worked at one of the schools in my town years ago, and they brought in the new Harlem Globetrotters. Like there's a newer group out. And I walked in and all the little kids were yelling, Miss Geri, because I used to play basketball with them before school started. Miss Geri, Miss Geri. And they threw me the basketball and I was standing center court with the taller guy. There were two of them. One was over 6, one was like 7 feet and one was like 7'6". So here I am, 5'4", and they give each of us a basketball. And I'm praying, Lord, I don't ever have to make another basket for the rest of my life as long as I make this one. So he went first. Okay. He was like, 3 times my size, right? He went first. And I think he deliberately missed. It bounced off. I think he did that on purpose. Mine went right in. How about that?
Wow.
Was that cool or what? Yes. Center court. And I said, thank you, God. I don't ever have to play again. So there you go. You've heard it all from me. Go ahead, Justin.
All right. So you've been, so I can tell that you been pretty much playing basketball all your life. So in 1997, it says here that you were drafted to the Detroit Pistons. Was that like the first time you ever got drafted, or like, how did you get started, and how did the NBA find you?
Well, the NBA finds people, like any pro sport. They find the people they want. Playing professional basketball was a dream of mine as a child, but never really was something I counted on until it became a reality. So I was graduating. I did graduate in 1997, about a month before I got drafted. We're just shy of a master's in education. I was going to teach high school history and social studies. I'm a few credits shy of a master's, but that was the plan. As I was going to teach high school, I was influenced highly by my teachers as a kid, and that's what I was going to do. That was my backup plan if I didn't make the NBA. But then as my career went on at the University of Kansas, my senior year, my coach pulled me aside, Roy Williams, who just retired from North Carolina, but he was the coach of Kansas at the time, and the reason I went to Kansas. And he said, hey, there's some NBA scouts in the crowd. I said, I know. I play with Rafe LaFrance, Paul Pierce, and John Vaughn. I know there's NBA scouts in the crowd. And he goes, no, these ones are here for you, son. And I said, all right, well, what am I supposed to do about that? He said, just keep doing you. So I went and did me, and after my senior season was over, the so-called experts were predicting me late first round, early second round, and I got invited by every team from 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, because there was only 28 teams in the league at that point, I believe. The last two were Utah and Chicago, because they were in the finals the year before. And I declined a trip to Utah because I was from there, and I was like, I can fill that stadium with family members every home game for 41 home games. Still piss off family members. So I told the GM, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming to Utah. So I didn't go work out for them, but I worked out for every other team from 22 to 28. And Detroit had the first pick of the second round, and that's why they flew me out. So I went and worked out for Detroit. And they said, we're looking at you for the first pick of the second round. I said, that's great. That's why I'm here. And then I went and worked out for all the other teams, and every other team I worked out for said they were going to take me if I was available. Well, Detroit had the 19th pick of the first round also. And because every single team I worked out for said they were going to take me if I was available, the Detroit Pistons decided to kicked me at 19 instead of gambling that I was going to be there for the second round. And the reason I tell that story is not to pat myself on the back, other than to say that every time I went to one of those workouts, I'd beat up everybody I played against. And so that's why I got picked 19th instead of last pick of the first round, or later in the first round or in the second round. I took everything I did seriously, and it worked out very well for me. So I got picked 19th in the first round because I proved people wrong.
Yeah. So I gotta ask, do you regret not taking that trip to Utah? I mean, do you honestly? Because I mean, I was listening, and I mean, I was thinking, I mean, what could go wrong? I mean, so looking back, I mean, do you regret not taking that trip?
I am 100% positive I made the right choice.
Perfect.
No, my entire family. I'm related to Joseph Smith distantly. That's the guy that founded the Mormon Church. My mother's side of the family are Stouts and Smiths. So, quite literally, I'm related to a lot of people in the state of Utah in the Mormon Church. I was born and raised Mormon. It's not for me now, but it is a big part of who I am. I believe in family. I believe in taking care of your family. I believe in being a good member of your family. The Mormon Church is a good thing. Most religions are a good thing, taken in moderation. But no, I 100% made the right choice not going to Utah because my personal life. That's one of the things that I saw when I was 22 years old, about to be drafted. My personal life in Utah would have been a nightmare. Trying to please family, I would have had to hire somebody to be the jerk, because I'm still the jerk to this day to a lot of my family members in Utah. Because, well, Utah's a great place, but I don't go there very much. And the next time I'm going to be there will be in 4,800 years, when my mother, who is here in Indiana, that I'm taking care of, when she passes, that'll be the next time I'm in Utah, and not a day before that.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say about that.
So I have a question, Justin, real quick. This is a silly question, and yes, there are silly questions. Most basketball players are very tall. So what comes first? You wanting to be a basketball player even when you were younger and not so tall? Or because a lot of them are so tall, they're like, oh, I think I could do this. Like, I'm being serious. I know it's a silly question, but were you ever asked that? Could you even answer it?
All the time.
Oh.
And there's people nowadays that don't know anything about my career because I retired, 13 years ago, whatever it was.
Okay.
So there's people alive right now that think, oh, you know what, anyone can make the NBA just because they're tall.
Okay.
Well, I'm living proof, because I'm small in my family, that just because you're tall doesn't mean you make it the NBA, doesn't mean you make college basketball. So the passion was not there. I will tell you the truth.
Okay.
Was not there until my father passed away when I was 16 years old.
Oh.
I played basketball. I was very good. I was very good at volleyball. I was very good at soccer when I was a kid until I turned probably 12 years old, and I was 6'2". I couldn't keep up with anybody on the soccer field anymore. I was never a goalie, just to put that out there. I wasn't the guy just standing in one place. Oh, he's a tall kid, put him in the goal. No, I ran around and I pushed people out of the way and I scored goals. But I couldn't keep up with anybody after I got to be about 6'2" in 6th grade, 7th grade, whenever that happened. So I stopped playing soccer, but I was very good at volleyball. I got recruited to play volleyball. I was player of the year in San Diego at volleyball. I loved multiple sports. I think volleyball was more my speed as far as what my passion was in high school. But when my father passed away, I quit basketball for about 2 weeks. And I was peeling paint off the walls. And that's when I decided to be an insane person. And I'm still angry. And I've always been angry. And that was my passion. That was my goal. And I've never, ever forgiven myself or anybody else for not being better as a kid and letting my dad see me play basketball, and not that he had anything to do with it. It wasn't his fault. He he died, but he did. And it wasn't my fault he died, but he did. But that was what made me a serious basketball player. So it's not a silly question. You don't become a professional at anything unless you put in 10,000 hours, and that's any profession. It doesn't have to be sports, but you got to put in the 10,000 hours. And unless you're going to be willing to put in those 10,000 hours, you're not insanely in love with what you want to do. So that horrible incident in my childhood became the impetus and is what made me successful as a basketball player. So while it is not a great, happy memory by any stretch of the imagination, it is absolutely the impetus of why I became an NBA player. If my dad was still alive to this day, I may not, or maybe probably wouldn't be an NBA player because I wouldn't have that drive to be what drove me after he passed. That emptiness, that loss is absolutely what drove me to be insane and do the things that no one else was willing to do at my height, my ability level, or whatever. There's only been 3,000 and change NBA players ever. That's a ridiculous statistic. That's a fact. Ever. There's only been 3,000 and something NBA players ever. So I'm one of them. I was a first-round draft pick. There's only been not even a couple thousand. There's been like 1,500 first-round draft picks ever.
Wow.
And so to have played 11 years in the league, if there's only been 3,000 something NBA players ever, you've got to be a little bit nuts. You've got to be willing to do things that no one else in the world. Everybody talks about talent, drive, blah, blah, blah. Now, it is 100%. Are you willing to do things that 99.99999, basically 100% of other people are not willing to do? I was. And the impetus for that was my father's passing.
So I want to say something, and then Justin, I promise you could have the floor. I felt the same way about my father, and my father ended up passing away. It'll be 3 years, but he ended up having Alzheimer's at the end. And everybody in the family always thought I was nuts and crazy. And, I'm the artist, the writer, the blah, 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 blah. Right. And my father owned a painting company, a very prestigious one in New York City, Columbia University, where their accounts and still are for my brother. So he used to have to bring his guys into New Jersey every time I opened up a salon or got a new place to live to paint the outsides of my house pink and purple and blue. I'm not kidding you. I drove him crazy. And when he got Alzheimer's, Scott, and I'm sharing this for a reason, I brought him to my home. And he walked in and he never once ever told me he liked my colors because it cost him too much money for all the colors his painters would have to paint. And, he walked in and said, "This is beautiful. Are you an interior decorator?" And that was God. That was God telling me my father always felt that way about me. So your dad instilled so much in you, obviously, that even with his passing and even with my dad's passing, it brought me to this level with radio and my book. It brought you to that level. That's how much they loved us. And God used even their death to bring us to the level we needed to be brought to, Scott.
Absolutely right. Everyone needs an impetus.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Justin, there you go, babes.
Yeah, we're all a little nuts.
Yeah.
And speaking of nuts, we're about to get into the nuts right now. Okay. The hairstyles. Okay. I'm pretty sure that you had some of the craziest.
What's that music?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my grandfather clock going on.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it's done.
That's okay.
This is my grandfather's actual grandfather clock. It went off at 9 o'clock. It just rang.
That's beautiful.
He bought it in 1976. It's 1 year younger than me. And it was hand carved by a man in Montana. And it's mine. And I have my grandfather's writing on the back. And he bought it in Hamilton, Montana in 1976. And it's written on the back of his grandfather clock. And my wife just had it fixed for me 2 years ago. And I basically haven't stopped crying since because that's pretty much the only thing in my whole life that's a material possession that matters.
So wait, but it's not 9 o'clock here.
It's 9 o'clock in Indiana, but it's a little fast, isn't it? It's 8:52.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
My grandfather's running.
Yes, that's pretty cool. That was your granddad saying hi. That's beautiful. All right, go ahead, Justin.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks a lot to your grandfather clock for interrupting this interview. Yeah, but anyway, the hairstyles. What made you like want to get these crazy?
Because he's really cool. But go ahead.
I mean, it says here that you in 2006, like in a game, like you had 2 ponytails, like at a Pacers game.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's the deal here? What
I love it.
Well, my record was 3 ponytails actually as a Pacer, and I dyed my hair blonde when I was in 7th grade. I had not a mohawk, but a faux hawk. I didn't shave the sides of all, but I had a faux hawk in 7th grade. It was always just something I did. I really can't put a reason why or an explanation. I can't really say, oh yeah, this is why. I just always thought, you know what, it'll grow back. Let's see what this looks like. So, going back to college, Roy Williams, my head coach, who was very much a father figure to me after I lost my own. Roy, one time, people asked him, how do you deal with this guy that always has different hairstyles and this and that? And Roy said to the media, and I think this is probably the best description, and it wasn't mine, but it's his, and I think it's the best description. He said, you know what, Scott shows up every day. He's a worker. He just does what he does, and the things he does may gather attention, but he doesn't do them in order to gain attention.
I love that.
And I think that's what it is because I never really thought, oh, I'm going to do this to my hair so that people talk about it. I just looked in the mirror one day. I was like, let's see what it looks like blonde. And then people are reacting going, oh, that wasn't really the desired effect. and I was just trying to see what my head looked like with blonde hair or a mohawk or a faux hawk or whatever. So, and then, after college, when my beard started growing in, which, again, when I got to college, I had no chest hair. When I graduated college, I had very little chest hair, and my goatee barely connected in college. And so in the NBA, it just became there was just more material to work with as an artist. So it was like, hey, I got mustaches and beards to work with now, when in college I didn't. So there was just more material to work with. Let's see what this looks like with the I'd braid my ponytails into my beard, and shave a mohawk and dye it blonde or dye it black or whatever. But, it was never anything that was like, hey, I want to do this to have people talking about it. It was just like, yeah, let's see what this looks like. And, I did braids, I did ponytails, I did everything you could do with hair except an afro for obvious reasons. And I wish I could have done an afro, but not in my genetics.
So cool. I love it. Well, I love it. I love expressing myself through hair, and I love when young people do it and older people have purple hair, and I used to have purple hair. I love it, Scott. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too. I mean, I was pretty much known for my outgoingness and, just like feeling everything as a party, like living life as a party for sure. And I was known. Every time I was in class, like during my high school days, I literally just like busted out and danced like every single time, like because I literally had nothing to do. Because I mean, I would always finish my work early. I was always the first one to finish, and I literally like could. I was just bored. I had nothing to do, and everyone like definitely was telling me how good I was. Like they tell me like they were posting it on their social media, and I don't really dance anymore because I don't really have anything else to do now.
Aww.
do these interviews.
So
Yeah,
cool.
I just never really saw myself being a dancer at full time. I mean, I wanted to go a little bit deeper in my search and finding what I really want to do. And here we are interviewing you today, Scott. So.
This is great. This is great, Scott. Wow. So go ahead, Justin. Continue with the interview.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is a question that everybody wants to know. What was definitely the highlight in your career in basketball? I mean, did you get to play with anyone like super famous, or did you meet anybody in particular? Your like any idols that you had? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I played with everyone that's famous. There's only 450 NBA players at any given time, and so when you play 11 years, you're playing against the best of the best, or you're playing with the best of the best, or both. The worst NBA player is the 450th best player in the entire planet.
Aww.
So that's a fact. I mean, it just is. And so when you hear people like, "Oh, you guys, you suck," or "This sucks," or whatever, it's like, no, there's only 450 NBA players. And you talk about the international game or whatever, and some people are like, "Hey, this guy played overseas for 14 years. That's awesome. That is great. That people make careers out of it." But they weren't in the NBA for 14 years. And so, again, I'm not talking this to glorify myself. What I'm getting at is, I played in the NBA for 11 years. Yeah,
right.
I played against the best there ever is, the best there ever was. I played against prime Shaq. I played against Patrick Ewing. I played against Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley. My childhood idol, Patrick Ewing. My rookie year, I line up and I'm thinking, I'm going to guard Patrick Ewing. I was guarding Patrick Ewing. And I watched him on TV as a kid.
That's
and I'm
so
on
cool.
the court guarding Patrick Ewing. Other players I didn't idolize as a kid, but then later on I'm playing against D.A.M.O.N, the greatest Chinese basketball player in the history of that entire continent. So, yes, I've played against the best. I played with the best. I played with Grant Hill. I played with Rick Mahorn, one of the bad boys. I played with Joe Dumars, one of the bad boys. I played with Chris Webber, who's about to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. I played with Vlade Divac, who is in the Hall of Fame. I played with Reggie Miller, who's in the Hall of Fame. I played with LeBron James, who will be in the Hall of Fame. I played with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, who will be in the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, I've played with and against the best of all time. Some of those players, Karl Malone, I played against. I don't want to beat people out. David Robinson was voted one of the top 50 of all time. I played against David Robinson. I played against Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan and I are the same age, but he played a lot longer than I did, but in the NBA. But we played against each other, drafted the same year. Side note on that story, geez, that just reminded me. There was a short discussion in San Antonio that I was better fit to be their first pick of the 1997 draft. It was a short conversation, admittedly, but there was a short discussion that I was a better fit for San Antonio to go get drafted as the #1 overall pick for San Antonio instead of Tim Duncan. Imagine the heights that San Antonio could have reached if Scot Pollard had been their first pick of the 1997 draft, as opposed to Tim Duncan, whoever the hell that is. No, but anyway, that's a joke. You guys are not getting it, but that's fine. I played with and against the best for 11 years, and there's no flukes. When you make it past 3 years in the NBA, there's no flukes. You're not a fluke at that point.
Gotcha.
And so there's an incredible number of stories I could tell about my time there, but it is absolutely an honor to have played in the NBA for 11 years, and I have a lot of good stories and memories from those days.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So I didn't realize how tall is I don't know the Asian gentleman you're talking about.
Yao Ming is 7'4",
okay.
listed, but I would say he's about 7'6" in reality. You can Google Yao Ming and Shaq.
Yep.
Shaq's listed at 7'1".
Okay.
And Yao Ming is not only 3 inches taller than Shaquille O'Neal. Yao is, I would say Yao is about 7'6". Now, I played against Sean Bradley and I played against George Mirasan, who is the tallest NBA player I've ever played. And I would put Yao up in their stratosphere as opposed to Shaq's stratosphere.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
I played against both of the tallest players to have ever played the NBA, 7'7" and 7'6".
That's so cool, man.
And I can tell you that Yao is closer to them than he is to Shaq.
That
And
is
you
so
Google that picture,
cool.
it's not even close.
All right.
Yao Ming makes Shaquille look short.
Yeah, I remember Yao Ming because I remember playing him in NBA Street. I was a huge gamer back in the early 2000s, so yeah, that's how I remember him.
That's so cool. All right.
And it says that it said that he was really tall. So
yeah, Yao was a tree trunk, man. You couldn't move him. You just hit him at the 3-point line as he was running down the court and tried to stop him a little higher and further away from the basket than he wanted to go. But it didn't always work out that way.
So cool. Okay.
okay.
Go ahead,
All right.
Justin. Yep.
All right, so you retired in 2008, and it says like a couple years later that you actually had some acting roles. Were you always into acting, or did you just come out of retirement being like, what do I do now?
No, when I was a little kid, my mom, being a Mormon, they have these things called plays, road shows and stuff, and my mom used to write plays, and she would do the musical scores for them. And so there was times when I was a little kid, kindergarten and stuff, that I would be in these plays. And so I had always enjoyed that, trying to memorize lines and then perform in front of people. But even personally, and just at family reunions and stuff, I would I'm a ham. I was a guy that liked attention. And so I would go out there and act out stuff that I had seen in movies or whatever. In front of my family members at Thanksgiving or whatever. But when I was in the NBA, there was lots of opportunities to do stuff. There's the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I did not act in that film, but there's a lot of footage of me in that film when I was with the Sacramento Kings and we were playing the New York Knicks. And they're in the Garden and Matthew McConaughey and what's her name are yelling at me to miss a free throw, even though obviously it's Hollywood and we were just playing a game, and they took the footage from that game and spliced it into the actor's studio, and they made it look like they were actually at the game, which of course they weren't. But that had nothing to do with acting because I was just playing a game. Anyway, I had always done stuff like that when I was younger, and then when I retired, I went back to Lawrence, Kansas, where the University of Kansas is. The first coach at the University of Kansas was the inventor of the game, Dr. James Naismith. The original rules of basketball are in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm glad that one of our donors brought the rules back to the state of Kansas and the University of Kansas, where they belong. And I made friends with a movie maker there, and so I'd been in some small films with him. Produced one, associate produced one, and then I produced a movie loosely based on one portion of my life. Oh, there's my grandfather clock again. It's 9:15, even though it's not 9:15.
That's
it's
cool.
A little fast. But so there was a movie called The Jayhawkers. I was associate producer of. Kevin Wilmot, my good friend, made that film in Lawrence, Kansas. I was part of one of his films called Destination Planet Negro, which is a satire about if the South had, well, no, not that one. That's Confederate States of America. I was not involved in that one. The Destination Planet Negro was but it was a satire film about the greatest minds in the 1930s-ish got together in the black community and said, hey, we're going to build a time machine not a time machine, a spaceship, and we're going to go form another planet. Because we can't go back to Africa. We're not welcome there. We're not African. And we can't go to Europe or anywhere else. And so the premise of the film was they were going to go to a new planet. And instead of going to a new planet, they went up in space and got in a time warp, and they wound up in present-day America, which would have been about 15 years ago now. Anyway, the synopsis of the film was they arrive in current-day America, and the hilarity ensues. My role in that film was I was a coyote, which in current times is a guy that or a person that ferrets people across the border from one country to another. And in that film, I was a bad guy, and it was pretty funny.
Wait, are you talking about the Axeman?
No, that was Destination Planet Negro. So we're going to move forward to the Axeman film. That was in 2011. I filmed that one, and I did not produce that one. I was just the actor in it, and that was very cathartic. I had just gotten divorced, and so it was really fun to go out to California and murder people because I had just written a
can't take it.
check.
Oh my!
And you know how big of a check it is? It's like the kind of check where it's like, you never have to work again check. That's the kind of check I had just written. And so I was like, yeah, this will be fun. I'm going to go murder people. So it was great. It was a very cathartic experience filming the Axeman.
Oh
and the great thing about the Axeman is they filmed the second one, and the second one I couldn't be a part of because the schedule didn't work out, and all of a sudden he was like, what? And I was like, what? And it just wasn't meant to be. And so he had somebody else play the Axeman in Axeman 2, but he just recut Axeman and shortened it by about 30 minutes. It's not a film that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this belongs in the Oscars. This is a film that was an homage to the 1980s just cheesy horror flicks. There's sex, there's cheesy lines, there's bimbos, there's dumb dudes, and everybody gets murdered.
Oh,
I mean,
my
come on.
gosh.
It's a classic family story. Watch it with your children.
That is like my typical horror film that I would
No, I don't like horror.
Okay, I know you don't. Okay, and for those of you listening, I'm looking at the Axeman right now. I'm looking at the history of it. Basically, it says that 9 people go to a remote cabin for a weekend of booze and sex. They're awesome.
And they all die.
When they all die. They all die.
All right, let's talk about something happier.
Okay, yeah, and I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know because there are a lot of Survivor fans out there.
Yes.
And we got to know, did you survive? Did you really survive all that?
The only real thing about Survivor is the surviving part. I really, even though they told us what to expect out on the island, I really did expect that there were going to be times where they'd be like, all right, I'm out, cut, here's a coffee, here's a massage, here's a bed. No, none of that. Not when I was on it. And I've heard stories about other seasons, but I can talk about my season. In the season I was in Cambodia, every single person that I spoke to, if they were being honest, which you never know also, we were all on malaria pills until I realized that malaria pills were keeping me from sleeping. So I stopped taking malaria pills because I was like, what's the cure for malaria? And they're like, well, we'll just give you a bunch of these pills for a few days. Then I'll just wait till I have it because I can't sleep.
Oh, my gosh.
But the surviving part is absolutely real. We had to build our own shelters. I thought they were going to be partially built for us. I thought there might be some other things where they were like, no, you're on camera all the time. The only time the cameras are not rolling is if you say, I need to go take a walk, in quotation marks, and that means you're going to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And you're going to go to the place where you get your malaria pill or your daily vitamin and your, they call it bug juice, which was your sunscreen / bug repellent. And it didn't do a very good job of either one of those things. But that was the only time you would be alone because you couldn't say, I'm going to go for a walk and then go hunt for an idol. Because if you did that, they will hunt you down and they will murder you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
But no, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, because, like, 1 minute we're talking about, like, gruesome horror films, and now we're talking about gruesome, like, malaria. I can't stop laughing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're laughing. All right, continue, Scott.
Okay.
Well, which part do you want to hear about? Like Survivor, I'm an open book.
Okay, yeah, just please. Okay, you can talk about anything. Just like, please don't make anyone throw up their guts.
Well, no, the reality of Survivor was very easy for me. I was a Boy Scout. I grew up. Look, I didn't grow up in horrible circumstances, but there was times where we were on government assistance and I didn't have food, and I was a Boy Scout, and so we would just go camping, and I didn't have a lot of expectations of the world. So when I was on Survivor and I didn't have food readily accessible and I didn't have a bed and a pillow and a blanket readily accessible, it didn't bother me. I was just like, whatever, you know, this is awesome. I'm on the beach in Southeast Asia. I have my kids are all part Thai. My wife is half Thai. I've been to Thailand a lot. I used to have a place in Thailand. I love that part of the world. So if you put me on a beach in Cambodia, I was like, yeah, this is not bad. This does not suck. I love the weather. I love the culture in that part of the world. So I'm sitting there on the beach going, no matter what happened, there was bugs crawling on me at night while I was asleep, and I'd wake up and there was little dots of blood on my arms, my hands, or whatever, and I would sleep with my buff over my face because my buddy Jason, he's the redhead bearded guy, that him and I were very close, and we still are very close to this day because we were the only ones on that season that we were married with young kids, and so we bonded over that, and we're very close. And there's other people we're very close with, Michelle and Julia from that season. I think Debbie is great television. I think she should be on every single episode or season of Survivor. I think she is amazing TV from our season. And I don't have any ill will towards anybody on my season. There were death threats made to me because people didn't like the way I played that season. But that was all after the fact. But the reality of being on Survivor, and I give speeches about it when I do motivational speeches, and I tailor them to whatever audience. But it's typically 3 days of reality of life that get edited down into one episode of Survivor. Now that's changing because the word is that now Survivor is going to be like 3 weeks instead of 4. I don't know, but I heard that. But anyway, when we were playing, it was 39 days, and now it might be shorter. But at the time, it was 3 days ish of real life in Cambodia. In our case, narrowed down to 40 minutes. When you've got 18 or 17 or 16 or even down to 3 or 4 contestants, you have to think about that, and you have to worry about how your gameplay is going to be or what you're going to look like. And it was very apparent to me from second one that I was going to be a villain because there was only 2 of us that were covered in tattoos and had beards, and it was Jason and I. So we played it up. We had a blast with it. Jason's term was embrace the suck, and that's an Army term because he's former Army. And we had a blast. We enjoyed it, and we came off as villains. There's some people that were like, "Oh my gosh, you were such a jerk on Survivor," and literally, it's been 5 years since we filmed it, 4 years since it aired. No, 6 and 5. 6 years since we filmed it, 5 years since it aired, and I still get people on social media reach out once in a while. I just watched your season of Survivor, and I can't believe that you're such a jerk and you're such a blah, 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 blah.
Oh my gosh!
Thanks for watching. I don't care. It's reality TV because people think that that's actually real. It's like people that watch wrestling and they get really deeply involved with the Iron Sheik. I'm dating myself, but whoever's famous in professional wrestling now, That's reality TV. That's all it is, and that's awesome. I'm happy that there's fans that are that passionate about it, and I used it, but I'll never do it again. And it's not because I had a bad experience. It's just because I don't want to be away from my family for almost 7 weeks again. That sucked. That was the only part that I didn't like.
So wait, I have a question because I don't really watch those shows. I mean, I've seen clips of all of them, but I don't really watch those shows. My daughter did, and Justin is a nut job with them. But when I've been to Thailand. I was there for a month years ago, like in the 80s, and I loved it. It was beautiful. But you said that it was like they had cameras on you all the time. So when you say it was reality TV, were you acting or were you not acting? Like I'm confused with it.
I don't think he was acting.
Well, the point I'm trying to make with the edit is not that the edit is not real.
Okay.
The edit is real.
Okay.
Right? We all did and said there's no script. The only part of the show that I would say is, in quotation marks, scripted.
Okay.
Would be the testimonials, because that's the only time that you're the only person in front of a camera, and there's a producer behind the camera talking to you.
Okay.
To elicit a certain response.
Okay.
So my game plan when I was on Survivor was I would watch people go to the testimonial, because it's a known thing. It's like, oh, testimonials, we're all going. And they would say, all right, you go.
Okay.
You go. Then all of a sudden, you're going, and you're going, and you're going. And in the meantime, they're still filming you, but they would like hit cut and be like, all right, you're next. So you don't see that part of production on TV, obviously.
Gotcha.
But you're watching people, and to me, a big part of my game was watching people go to testimonial and come back from testimonial, because you could see people go, all right, that's my dude or that's my girl. We're good. We have a good alliance. And they would go to testimonial and they'd come back from testimonial. And it's like, if they hated you before and they come back from testimonial and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we should do more together. And it's like, okay, they got you. Because they're trying to change what we had in place. Like,
gotcha.
So there's always scheming going on, and it was the same way, the opposite direction, right? So it's like, oh, that's your best buddy, female, male, doesn't matter. You're good, and then they go to testimonial and they come back and they will not look you in the eye. It's like, all right, they got you at testimonial. So that's part of the game.
Gotcha.
And that was a big part of my game, was watching people go to testimonials and come back from testimonials. Because to me, that was the only actual real part of the game, because that's where the producers would try to manipulate how the game would go. We would all have agreements, and there was times where it was like every single person on the island was like, this is what's going to happen. Wow. And all of a sudden, the day of a tribal would be upon us, and we have a testimonial session, and everybody had to go. And then everybody come back. It's like, hey, did you change? Nope. Nope. Did you change? Nope. And there's like another round of testimonials. Everybody had to go back again to be one-on-one with a producer and a camera, because they're trying to crack it. So that's the part that people don't see. That's the production, and that's what makes it such a wonderful show. I'm not saying it's illegitimate,
right?
Because if you have any brains, all reality TV is illegitimate. Wrestling is illegitimate. Pro wrestling is illegitimate. If you look at it from that perspective, but it is reality TV, and if you know that going in, which I did, I don't care if people think I was a jerk on the show. I had signed a 132-page contract to go on voluntarily to go make money, and I did. I made a lot of money, and I had a blast in Cambodia. Will I ever go back? No, because 7 weeks is too long to be away from my family.
So
wait,
I have to say this, Justin, because this really flew. We've only got about 10 minutes left. I mean, this really flew. It was so much fun and incredible. time flies when you're having fun. But what I would like is for Scott to be able to say whatever it is he would like to say before we close the show. We've got about 10 minutes, Scott, and I don't want you not to be able to promote something or say something that you were hoping to.
Listen, Jerry, I answer questions. I do these interviews, and I answer questions. I'm a realtor. I'm a simple man. I'm an old dude that used to have a really amazing job because I was a particular type of personality once upon a time. Now I'm a suburb dad. I live north of Indianapolis. I sell houses. I help people sell their house or buy their house. And that's it. My wife is a realtor as well. We raise our kids. I have 4. One's graduating college right now this month. One's graduating high school this month. One's going to high school this fall. He's graduating 8th grade. One's going into kindergarten this fall. So I got a graduate of high school, college, 8th grade, and preschool. I've been having kids since '98. I'm a grandpa daddy. So
That's amazing.
I'm not trying to promote myself. I'm just happy that you guys let me come on, and I got stories. That's what I do. I tell stories. I do stand-up comedy here and there. I missed out last weekend. My friend Kenny Garcia was in town at the Helium here in Indianapolis, and he wanted me to come in with Josh Wolf, and Josh Wolf said I could do a few minutes on stage with him, and it just didn't work out timing-wise. I couldn't get a babysitter. Kids ruined everything. But, I do public speaking. I'm a realtor. I'm a suburb dad. Like, but when opportunities come up, it's like, hey, go be in this movie. I'm like, maybe, or yeah, or no. We're flying to Sacramento this weekend. We're going out to promote a golf tournament that raises tons. And by tons, last year's golf tournament raised $1 million for a children's charity that helps children with disabilities out in Sacramento. And we're going to Rancho Murrieta this weekend for the Gold Rush Classic. And it's just, this one's not even the golf tournament. This is just to promote the Gold Rush Classic.
Wait, I have a question. Who's singing at the golf tournament?
At the golf tournament, the Cripple Creek Band will be there in October. They were there last year. They're committed this year. They'll be the Cripple Creek Band.
Gotcha.
And in June, Don and I, my wife and I are flying to Colorado with the kids, and then we're going to leave them in Colorado, and we're going to get flown from Colorado to Cody, Wyoming, to be part of Celebrities Against Cancer. And you need to look this up. Celebrities Against Cancer in Cody, Wyoming in June. You will not believe the amount of celebrity. I was like, you really want me to be part of this? When you look at the list of people that are there, I'm just going to say one name, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. And I'm on that list. So I'm like, yep, I'll be there. And my wife's going to give a speech because of her battle with cancer. She had not a radical, but a double mastectomy 3 years ago. She's cancer-free, and she's beat it. So that's why we got invited, was because my wife is an incredible human being and has beat cancer on top of being an incredible human being. So, that's it. I just, because of basketball, I've been exposed to a lot of things, including being a part of this podcast. And I just love telling stories and helping other people. That's what we do.
Well, I love you, man. This is incredible. Justin, what would you like to close with tonight?
Well, first off, I definitely want to thank you, Scott, for taking the time out of your life to come join us today for talking. I know things didn't work out the last time, but we're really glad everything's under control now. I want to say a huge thank you to Geri for always allowing me to be a part of her shows. And I also, most of all, I want to thank everybody out there listening, because we are absolutely nothing without you, and we appreciate for the listen, and keep out for new and amazing shows coming up soon.
So I want to thank both of you. I want to thank you, Justin, of course, always bringing me incredible guests. And you know what, Scott, you're an incredible person. You're an incredible human being. Forget the NBA, just you, who you are. Just listening to you talk. First of all, I have a great sense of humor. You sound like an incredible dad, an incredible husband. I want to give a shout out to your beautiful family for you. This was such a touching, great interview for me for so many reasons. So I want to say thank you. Really, thank you, Scott. And we're going to do this again. We're going to plan another one, and we're going to do this again.
I'd be happy to. I'm sitting here staring at my father's discus, which he threw in 1954 after watching my 13-year-old throw a discus tonight in his track and field meet tonight. And so he won first place in the shot put and got second place in the discus. So as I'm sitting here listening to you, I mean, thank you. That's very complimentary, but I'm watching these things sitting here going, you know what, I've been blessed to have such a wonderful life and be exposed to people like yourself. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, Scott, thank you, sweetheart.
And I'll be watching Axeman pretty soon.
Oh, and I won't be. Sorry.
No, it's okay. If you don't like a giant person mutilating people, then don't watch it. But,
okay, yeah.
It's a great example. It's just a great example of a I don't want to say cheesy because it dumbs it down, but yes, it's a cheesy horror flick, and it's awesome. It's awesome at that.
Yeah, Jerry's not bad, but I am your guy when it comes to horror. I'll definitely be watching that. Like right now.
Everyone out there listening, you see this guy right here? He's incredible. This is Scott. This guy right here. This is Justin. I'm showing your photos. Please.
Keep watching the film because if they do a good enough job with this re-edit, they're going to film the third one.
Okay.
And he wants me back to be the third one in the trilogy and finish out the trilogy. Who knows what's happening? But it was always planned to be a trilogy, and I would love to help him finish out his dream because it's certainly not about the money. These are small independent films. This is about the art, and I would love to be able to finish the Axeman trilogy.
Very cool. So everybody, when you listen to this and watch this video, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
And share this video, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Subscribe.
Thank you, everyone.